Start with the opening prayers in the yellow prayer book on page 3. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to Bodhichitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to Bodhichitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to Bodhichitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to Bodhichitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to Bodhicitta and progressed along the Bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to Bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the Bodhisattva's path.
Durjin Janjun de lo Naro Dai Ma Ba Ma La Ji Je Gambo Ba Ba Mo Zhe Ba Jawan De Gong Ba Ga Yu La Ma Nam Je Da Jun Ye Da Nen De Ne Zera Dam Je Da La Ma La Ba La Ye Ji So Zong La Zong Yun Den Jam Zong A La Wan Den De Dong Jun De Be Ge Le Zo Jin Yi Zo Da Zo Jin Je Den Na Du Zong Ye Guan Me Ye Zeng Ge Gun Da Ge Ma Le De Da Dam Je La Le Dang A Ye Dang We Sa Oi Gang Ge Den Jen De Wen Jong Ga Ba Me Ba Je Ba Me Ba Da Me Ba Wa Me Ba Ro Me Ba Da De Du Me Dun Je Me Zhi Ba Ni Ye Ye Den Ba Zu Bu San Je Ma Nan Je Dam Ba De La Zhang Zar Du Zhen Jin Za Ba La Ma Je Je Gu Song Du Je Sin La Da 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 Ge Ju Lan Ben Da Ge Den Ba Dan Sin Je Je Dong Jia Jin Bong Zhe Ba Sin Je La Du Zor Nam Kwa Tang Nyam Be Sin Jin Tam Je Ji Dong De Din De La Na Me Ba Yang Ta Ba Zu Bu San Je Ji Gu Bang Ren Bo Ji Ta Ba Sa Di Chi De Tam Be Ju Gan Ye Sen De Dong Nyam Su La Wang Ji Wo Nyam Be Sam Ba Jiang Chun Ju De Sem Ji Ba Dang Chi Nin Be Gun Ju Da Gun Long Ma Na Ru Go Ne Sem Ban Ca De La Gang Sem Ban Sa We Chu Ne De Ne An Pa Pa Zang Bo Ju Ba De Ne Dong Ni Lam Zang Hi Sa Wa De Hu Ba Ka Re De Nang Ge Da Da Ra Yin La Du Yo Gen Yo Ba Nang Ge Da Ngo Bin Yin La De Res
Cultivate a motivation thinking that may all sentient beings, limitless as space, attain the state of perfect and complete awakening, enlightenment, and think that for this purpose I'm going to listen to the teachings and thereafter engage in practice. So such a motivation of bodhicitta is the unmistaken motivation for listening to the Dharma. And the Dharma we're listening to is the commentary on the prayer for excellent conduct called the excellent path that accomplishes the twofold purpose. And we are now in the 7 branches and in the 7th of the 7 branches, which is the branch of dedication.
Da De Jiang Qiu Sem Ge Zi Xin Song Wa Yi Na Ge Wa Kan Ra Yi Na Yang Ge Wa Lap Qin Chang Ro Gu Yu Ba Re Wa Da Nga Rang Zu De Chu Xie Jun Da Yang Ge Wa Re De Lap Qin Tang Cha Lap Qin Bo Ji Cha Da Ma Cha Shi Ba De Jiang Qiu Sem La Ra Le Yu Ba Re De Na Yin Ge Da Gom Jia Ya La Su Ban Da Tham Che Da Ge Wa Lap Qin Tang Yang Da Ji Lun Ro Gu Wa Yi Na Cha Man De Jiang Qiu Sem Ge Zi Sen Go Yo Re Den Da Ra Da De Yang Zang Bo Ju Bu Mo Lan De Chu Zhou Man Bo Che Ge Zhang Ga Da Na Da Ne Dong Cha Man Bo Dong Cha Jares Tanava San, Dansan and Dona Doa, that to Sopemesi Yapore, that they Tamje Tsama, Domba Kapsuya, Janchun Chok, Zisim Butoni, then Dontana, then Pin Samje Majabayo Bares.
And then if we cultivate a mind of bodhicitta, then no matter what virtuous practice we do, it will become very vast and powerful. So also, for example, the teaching the Dharma and receiving the Dharma is a virtuous activity, but whether or not it really becomes vast, virtuous activities depends on whether or not one has cultivated bodhicitta. And similarly, when we meditate, we practice meditation, what determines whether the meditation practice becomes authentic and vast, virtuous activity, it depends on whether or not one has cultivated bodhicitta. And so now many Dharma friends are actually doing accumulations of like 100,000 or so accumulations of the excellent, the prayer for excellent conduct. And that is really wonderful. And when you do that, when you do the recitation, then if you, while you recite, if you recite with the mind of bodhicitta, then the benefit is inconceivable.
Alright, that in Hoa Dela, Dumbang give it our Hoa Hipatere. Tang Hoa Serendun, Jerdan Tenigan to him on Buhusimbare, the Pa Yin la Trepas, Japan Hoa Sid Dundani or Jig Pa Trepatab. Train, Tene, that does a train Yayabama, Tre Yabade, that another Pinto Senata, Data Beton, Tene, Semna. Semji yung bandela ni ngwa ngobi la shugo yore dela da ngobi la de karak sung do sina chan saro wa dan chu jin xiao ba dang ji si rang kur xin so wa ye ge wa jung ze da ge chip sa ba tam je da ge jan chu chen ngo so dan de chan sarwa shi bandela Lunga yi sumje gun chansarwa yoban reki gonu yoban de dege geba zawa dang. Tenin chuba shibandala dang ngu jin chuba dang. Tenin yi ji zhurnen chuba yowa. Tenin yang na lana yoban chuba da lana meben chuba da tamje ge geba zawa dang. Tenin xiakba sunde da dikba la yonti meja xiakba yanda ba dikbu yonti serdu. Tenin da nimbo to biye gone xiak sor gong de he xuba di ge ge za wa dang de he xuba de ji bu mar da de nyam lin je bu ge za wa dang tenin ji se yara hangs ne ji se yara wan de la da yin je ge wa yin ge sunam tenin Yinken puson zoba kana yonaya dela jisi yirangwa. Tene de tamze da tene tara chujun kolo kuwa tene digewa zawa tang. Tene nyangin la manda war yukbar so wata ba tang. Tene gewa ngowa ke kurang ngowa digewa zawa. De tamze jikdung. Tene tang ngay tsar tazo daad zong ten dikkan ze pa te chi nga yin sung yore tela me nga chenpo chi yore es.
So we are maybe dedicating all our roots of virtue, and so the verse here in the blue prayer book on page 53 is number 7. It says, "May whatever small amount of virtue I have gained from prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, and beseeching be dedicated to attainment of perfect enlightenment." So we already explained some before about the nature of dedication. So we have said it means that we are giving something away to others. And there's 2 points to that. So we are giving it away, but then also secondly, we are not just giving it away, but we're giving it away with a wish to benefit them, with a mind of bodhicitta. So that is the branch of dedication. And so what we are dedicating for others is bringing together all these roots of virtue that we have practiced, have accumulated. So as we mentioned before, the virtue that came from prostrating with body, speech, and mind, and then the virtue that comes from making offerings. We mentioned there is the actual material offerings, and then there is the mentally created offerings. And then also the virtues that come from confession. We have said that in general there is nothing good about negative actions, but if there would be one thing that's good, then it is the potential to become purified through confession. And we said before that that is done through the 4 powers. So the root of virtue from practicing in this way, from confession. And then next is rejoicing. So we are dedicating the roots of virtue that come from rejoicing in the virtue and the perfect merit of others. And then we bring together also the virtue that comes from having requested to turn the wheel of Dharma and not to pass into nirvana. And then also the virtues that come from making a dedication. So all of that, we bring it together. So we make it our own, and then we give it all away. So that is a very profound instruction.
Yinla dumban da chipo nyamni che deba yina chi ngunewe na chi sunam ndele hlas chupa chi sunam soya la tabla mi deban rawa chi yore ndoga ngune ten mandong ndu samno tang ndu te yinna ya ta ngarang su chi dikpa te top che chane tene ta le lapo yang dikpa de so ya nda thukumi pare yinaya denge yinla dumba ke dikpa nda thukumari hyugayo mare ta zo chikyu semku tone to so da nyamda nandu hakwa chene tene songo jita karchimbo chade yo warwa
So if one only practices those 7 branches, there's actually no greater merit that one can accumulate. It's the greatest method. But then also, when we do that, the point is also that we understand the actual meaning of what we are reciting, because our negativities in the mind are very powerful, and therefore it isn't so easy to purify them. But of course, I'm not saying that it's not possible to purify them through the 7 branches. We can purify them, but what's most important when we do the 7 branches is that we also understand the meaning.
Tene ta te kanchula ten yela dumba te ta hyusimba re ta ti wo de zab sapji ni ba de la tene ngui ge zambo ju bo molam je rabie judo yore ta tena na zambo ju molam ngui ge te yong zo man do de yore rabie sir de ta ma hyapcha we ne ye ba je ya ba de le hyo yore te dan tin tartok he balas dambo kund zambo molam je ra ye judo he pa ne sambu gon humba te ha ko do jancho sem miji bu gon humba magu pe jorbo gon humba so ta te ta magu pa hi ba te ta andere te la ta me ke lu la ji jang ti ke le ta nyu mo ba tan je ke magu par tene ti lu la ji na ya ti tene jancho ko sem la la par ju ba zambo ju ba la par ju ba te nandung tere. Tene yiba te simjin la pimbo gonu mumba. Tene ngapa te goche gonu mumba. Gocha siti ta tamjan rao dang yin katsa nuba rao katsa nyumong to soke tsewa mato pa ti chane sungu yorwa. Tene karpa nyamba janchu simba dan trebu gonu mumba. De kondwa tene dumba te gewi hini nipar shibu gonu mumba. De jeba te tevgin hikpa ngundu gyurbu gonu mumba. Goba te dambu chu yongsun zimbu gonu mumba. Juba te meze bunzu tobu gonu mumba. Chukchikpa te njukbu gonu mumba. Dan jukbu gonu mumba hibande sanje ji hien durjik ting na tene sanje ji hien chatik mangbo yoris. Da te tawa lan jukba. Ben di lang de na da tangka da tanda lagu mangbo yon da nga so te tala yong ruwa da. Tala yong sin jar kala yong jar. Da te tawa ji. Da taso hibra hiabla yong ruwa. Jukbu gonu. Nga pe yande. Pe na di lang na jing ro gosi. Kansi na tangka mangbo hiang yore. Lagu mangbo hiang yore. Te jing ji gosi. Tara durjik ting durnishi. Durjik gala de. Ta tenji. Ta tenji lan jukba. Ngus ta nyamne na hiong yung goirwa. Tene ta juni pa de top ju gonu mumba. Juksang pa de drupa nimpu gonu mumba. Jukyo pa de le ju gonu mumba. Junga pa de jis lapar yung sumu gonu mumba. Tene churuk pa de dubu gonu mumba si. Tanda roa tamche sanje chi lamla sir shukpa la tene yang tablang kepo gonu sir. Te tonu sungu yorwa. Tanda re.
So that completes the 7 branches, and that's also the first section of the book, and of like the kind of root section, main section. And then a second section of the book is the actual prayer itself. So here we begin with the actual prayer for excellent conduct. And this whole section consists of 16 divisions. And so first to outline them, first one is the aspiration is kind of based on the motivation. So praying, aspiration prayer based on motivation. And then secondly, the aspiration that is based on retaining or not forgetting bodhicitta. The third one is the aspiration that is based on undefiled conduct. And so this undefiled here refers to the birth in the body of a god or a human. So even though one is born in this worldly existence, one is still not one aspires to still not become stained or tarnished by karmas and afflictive emotions, and to engage in the superior conduct of bodhicitta and excellent conduct. So that is number 3. Number 4 is the aspiration that is based on or kind of aims toward the benefit of sentient beings. Number 5 is the aspiration based on like armory protection. So that is the aspiration that aims to not developing the ability not to cause any harm towards others, not to become afflicted, to develop a state of non-violence. Number 6 is the aspiration that aspires to encounter as many bodhisattvas as their kalpas or aeons. Number 7 is the aspiration to please the Tathagatas, the Buddhas. Number 8 is the aspiration to actualize the state of Sugatam, or a bliss gone one. Number 9 is the aspiration to completely uphold the holy Dharma. Number 10 is the aspiration to obtain an inexhaustible treasure. Number 11 is the aspiration to engage, which refers to engaging or entering into this conduct. So, so entering here also means to behold. And so that is the aspiration to behold. For example, as you mentioned before in the story of Norsang, to behold limitless Buddha fields within a single atom. Or just to have this intention to enter and see and behold a temple that is filled with tankas and other images of deities and Buddhas and so on. So that's 11. And then 12 is the aspiration to attain power. Number 13, the aspiration to accomplish and to practice antidotes. Number 14 is the aspiration based on karma. And number 15 is the aspiration that aspires to perfectly dedicate what one has trained in. And number 16 is the aspiration of a gathering, literally, kind of bringing all together. And so that basically means to cause sentient beings, so gathering sentient beings and then causing them to enter the path to Buddhahood.
Oh, yeah, that thing nga ravi tambo de sambugun mumbala yang subject som yore. The subject so hakona yabo yore. The yung the lobjong ruchi the char zawan ro sabo hakoya yore den. Then tela som yode tambo de yin hikpa lan chuba dang gongba yongsu zobu sambas. Teni ni ba de sanje ji hen yongsu jong samba. The sumba de simjin tamje deva lakpa sambas. That is the sum. Contain bares.
So then we start with the first of the 16, which is the aspiration that is based on one's intention. So the aspiration to have an intention. And that itself is divided into 3 sections. So that chapter has 3 parts. So it's also good for us to just know the various divisions and sections. Because basically knowing that is like the root of studying later on. And so number 1 of those 3 is the intention to completely perfect to completely perfect offerings to the Sugatas, to the Buddhas, and to complete their enlightened intent. And then number 2 is the intention to fully unite with the Buddha fields, the Buddha realms. And number 3 is the superior, like supreme intention to achieve the great bliss, great happiness of all sentient beings.
Number ni bat hing jungwa se du den ro en samaro te hing ka mada patham je tabal char jor go yora chik te lap sa
Sorry, the second one, I read that wrong, is to fully train in the Buddha fields.
Ta te na ga ta tambo te ta tambo de la ta zanju mona tsikan de tsungo yore de pa sanje nam da cho ju ye so jiktin ta na kan yung chu paran chor kaya ma jung de da ram nyer bar samzo chanchu ram par sanje chung so tan de pa sanje nam dang so tan de pa sanje shi ba de la yang jirtang da sanje tamjin de shi ban de nyang len de so ma lan de se ge yore nyang len de se du 다 동학 잠소를 반대해서 디찬에 왜나 산제 탐제 내부 산제로 차대 요래 양 두숨제 산제 시제야 요런 내부 산제 말면제 다드 산제 샥자 토바 마오바 산제 잡삽 잠방곰보스나 양 드라베는 지단제 요바요래 다텐도 다하다 산제 용수 족발라 효용고 요바르와 내바다 마오 다다 참말라 근데 다 데베 산제 남 시바템플라 망 참아 초죠 단 직딩 초죠 요가서 초죠 다 디크 데네 디 초죠 나나 만두바제 메바리 디낭 나타 네빈 직딩 감탐제 나 요버다 산제 탐제 나 담보 추반 프로그램 시안 추반 단데 양 추반 프로그램데 ngaranzu namju yinachi lazu charjin dine yan chuban pho ya jiwa nga tsunana tene kandan de chuban ba de ngaranzu lon jumbo ji le na ko thomar cha te go ro ra dina yin je tene kan ma zung te da ram yor was samzo sanjo ro bar sanji jung shi be tseni de ke tsga ma ni de ke tene mazung ba sanje sonta ta deso yang je sang je ka la mok perna sabji junta la ne ba deso tene sabji gu junta dorje ta ba ting in zin se yor di kompang do ne tene sanje ju kompang tene jobo top hyo chyo zamo la ja ke yore dan den sanje dambo te song yana
in the blue prayer book, so that's on page 53 in the bottom. So again, verse number 1, the pure attitude. May I worship the Buddhas of the past and those present in the worlds of the 10 directions. May those to come quickly fulfill their aspiration and reach Buddhahood by traversing the stages of enlightenment swiftly. So this term here, the Buddhas of the past, this term past here, the Tibetan term for that, debe, can be interpreted in 2 different ways. And so de can either mean past, or it's part of the word nirvana, which is nyang de. So it's in brief de. So those who have attained nirvana, those who have gone beyond. So they means beyond. So they are beyond, or they have transcended the ocean of samsaric suffering. So in that sense, all the Buddhas really have transcended. They all are beyond or past. So this is one meaning of the word past, so being beyond suffering. And then the other one is in terms of time, past, present, and future. And so in that sense, for example, the previous Buddha of the past was the Buddha Marmite, And the present Buddha is the Buddha Shakyamuni, and the future Buddha, the next Buddha, will be the Buddha Maitreya. So all the Buddhas here, may I worship the Buddhas of the past and so forth. So all the Buddhas of the 3 times are made offerings to. So all the Buddhas of the past and those now present in the worlds of the 10 directions. So there is basically all the Buddhas, because there is no Buddha that is not included in the 10 directions. So I worship them, meaning I make offerings to them. And so it is just like when you're normally in the tantric practices, we are inviting deities and then we are making offerings to them. Just like when we are inviting a guest to our home, we are offering them some tea. And so then the aspiration is that may those to come quickly fulfill their aspiration and reach Buddhahood by traversing the stages of enlightenment swiftly. So that here refers to all of those who are about to attain Buddhahood, who are just before that. Before that, one dwells within the Vajra-like samadhi on the 10th bhumi. And so may all of these swiftly transcend that state and attain complete enlightenment quickly.
Dara sanje da sanje paranjurwa to solo son hyoyorwa maung bala sanje paranjurwa tin da nyurwa ti chegre le nongpa chimbo yore chegre de gogo ya cha de yore chegre ka kan ho yore dara mo na tene lakpar to ti zangbo ju mo lang den de he ja go wa de kar chimbo hyu cha de yore de yinda che dara ba ke dara demu yo tu선라는 책 남상 책 거고요. 뭐지근 돈나 소소 책 대뉴네 되네 데라 책배 책나기 소소 그 검자야 단트라지는 저게요. zambo ju molande 뭐지 그 돈데 안 데는 파뉴네 책 나기 데 소소le 야노 고아다 히도 야보는 마도 데스칼레 가보요. 네 페이지 요거 되네. 가레레스나 jancho par sanje chung se je che te che tsing thama de chung se do chung se de boge na nam jin chung se che de non chon de ko ndo re de ke je dang ti che korang ka tak cha lo ga re de ke chung dang tak cha lo ga ra ma to ke dra dang chik pa chik chang re ke che yo mar de ni lak par de bu ba ndo je in se ne er chung se je de bu ji hya dang ga ma re da ma ma no na chung se du ta chik do che chung de yong din ni ge de se chung de ko ndo ge bu ba no na ko ndo ja cha ja kan sang de bi chu ma yo sa te tang ge yo ro wa chung se je de chung je se ne te yin ba ndo yi ja ko ndo de ni ti chai na ta chung se ko ndo de ni churang ge ti ge de so lo ma hi nang dong ha ma de ni am cho ge bu ge ko de jing nyong ra san ji chung je na san ji chung jin yin ba ro je ko yin ni ka yo ro wa de ko nar tham ro ni ka 다 중시 바도 효시 바동로 다 삽지 준타네 바 산제 장초선 바처럼 소티니 다 뉴모 버더바다 히즈드바 조보 방네티니 저런 상제 버려 조보 상제 버려 효스 뉴라 성도 티동레 책대서 되는 저기 마자란저 차도 요르때서 진짜로 그 가르침 보시 차도 요르스 상제 버려 도나 데라
this in the Tibetan, the last line in that verse is may. So the may would be the last part, right? In the Tibetan, the structure is different. So may those to come quickly fulfill. So that's the very last part. And actually, what it means is, as it says here, may they quickly attain enlightenment, basically. And it's especially in this prayer really important to understand the meaning of really each and every word. It's important to really be precise in the explanation of each of those words and not skip over them. in particular, when it comes to this prayer, when we do a different prayer, it's not not that critical. For example, when we recite the Amitabha prayer, the wishing prayer to be born in Dewa Chen, the usage of words, terminology in this prayer of Dewa Chen is much more straightforward. So when we, for example, when we listen to someone else reciting, let's say you are Tibetan and you listen to someone else reciting the prayer of Amitabha, born in Dewa Chen, just by listening to the words or even somebody else reading those words, you would understand the meaning and you would be able to just meditate on the meaning as you listen to someone else reciting that prayer. And that is a little bit different with the prayer for excellent conduct. Unless one really understands the actual meaning of each of those words, it will be quite difficult actually to just listen to someone reciting that prayer and just understanding everything as you hear it. It's not that straightforward with the prayer of excellent conduct. For example, this line here. And so, of course, the thing is that it's a little bit different in a Tibetan language, which is an issue we might not have in English. But in Tibetan, for example, in Tibetan, there are words that sound exactly the same, but they have a completely different meaning. So he's saying the exact same word, but it has a completely different meaning, and it depends how you spell that word. And that makes the difference. But when you just hear somebody chant it, you don't see how it's spelled. So it still sounds the same. So it could be any of those words with a different meaning. So we don't really have that so much in English here, in this line especially, but here there's one word that might be misunderstood in the Tibetan, which is may. This term may, those to come quickly. So just this term may actually could be misunderstood because it's in a Tibetan it says here Jun, and there is another word that has the exact same pronunciation, also Jun, and that is fault. So it could either mean fault or it could mean may. And mostly when we use the word Jun, we actually mean fault. So it's more common to use this term for fault. But here it means may. So if one knows Tibetan and one just hears this Jun, then so it says here Sangye Jun. So the may is put together with the Buddhas. You know, the syntax is a little different. So the reach Buddhahood is together with the may, so may Buddhahood. So then if one doesn't know that, then one might think that like the faults of Buddhahood instead of may one attain Buddhahood quickly. So then one may think that there are some faults when one attains the state of Buddhahood. So that's why it's important to understand the meaning of that. So what it means is actually in this context it means may, and it is an address to those bodhisattvas dwelling on the higher bhumis, like the 10th bhumi. So it is a prayer that may all of those bodhisattvas quickly purify all the obscurations of the afflictive emotions and the subtle obscurations to omniscience, and may they quickly attain enlightenment.
Hande gabzu sanje hipan sin tengu su zongwa rite donda larong yin kare koya yoresna ta lama gebi shini namba ta tuso keyang tene chujung kolo korne tene ta sojin samje le yu yor barwa ta te da tamje la yang ta so ke chid se durza loma tamje ke tene chuje nin bar ho se mona ja yo yore kansna pena nepa chi na nepa de ke minba la di minba dan che ho tene mi ya bo ra sho min de ke pin ho se ta mona ja ba na yin cha ge yore tene ge shinin tamje la 추중 걸로 고버 소아 라서 받나 미나 되니 다 추중 걸로 두소 소속 저 용토가 요말 수수주라 되니 다 산제나 때따랑리 때 샬라 때다 버지 고고요 바리 Tenin chujin, ta tek kapsu sanje tang gebishini jikpo mayen ba, tenin ngaran simjin tamche layang, tenin tampe chulo longsu chuyo, tenin gebishin sanje ta jancho samba gebishini laso ba tamche chujin, nyingko laso ba jibar hyo siddhi ta sanje ne simjin yosu zo ba mulanda tabje de jayang kuyo ba, nandong tere.
And so here the actual word that is used is so an address to those Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, but it's not just them actually. Also, it really is. It should be understood to be as application to all the lamas, the gurus, the spiritual masters to turn the wheel of Dharma. And those masters abiding in the 10 directions. And also it is an appeal to the disciples, the practitioners, to that they may make offerings and please those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, which is just like making an aspiration that a sick person may all the sick people meet a doctor, and may they receive the appropriate medicine from their doctor, and may that medicine be of benefit to them. So for that it is necessary that the spiritual masters turn the wheel of Dharma, because if they don't, then all of these medicinal qualities cannot arise in the mind streams of sentient beings. So therefore this aspiration is not just addressed to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, but it's also for sentient beings, that they may they all enjoy the holy Dharma.
Ta de wo de nipa, ta his sabje som yu song din na nipa de sanje ji hin yong su jung samba zigang nipa de re zigang nipa de. Chob ju gali hin nam ji nipa de da jachir yong su dakbar churur jan chob hiwang chung hi gerwa na sanje se je rab de gangwar shos. Ta sho se de zo ji mu lam ji yin ba de ha go go yorwa. Zambu jubu molam sen de ko tserin tal de mumba de yo go ma yong sala ta de de ni yang tsek de so karchim ba cha de so ji kali hing hi ban de gar re sirdu dan dalan de he mambo ja nang kin yo re kali hing hi ba de sanje ki hing hala de nang ngun zung kin yo ba re de zo chi hyu 마다 변로아를 독게 행데서 담제라 고고 요바레 간스 나그 삽제는 행중즈는 가서 남주 행함장 라고도와 디디 다 마다 바게인디 로아를 독게다 행이나라야 양 마다 행즈 때 쭉 행함만 보여 렌잠블레는 나나 자블렌스나 디게 딱 지딘지 칸달라 데니 다 행함 코란술라 용딘 체총 요바레 hinkan koran sulu yungtin chechong kare china cha sungari sedu jancho simbadu soke loba lamjin ne gabzu jancho simji chechong ka cha sungri. Pena chiyo tara gatse je keba je yin yangma je gatse je de toba tobo ina ya jancho semko le de semtengni go de ka ne ya je yangsi jancho sem leng mata na teni yang suso ke maung pala je hinkam jo tuyundu teni tanda tuku hinkam teni madabi hinkan ja chung teni samsa dunga yo deba tanda je den rawa je jiwa lin rowa tang yang na de taba je chungpa tanda je chaga yo roba ta dara ngarang su samba ja je wa jancho ke sem se tele teni ta tanda soso dribjang chimbo je indu teni ta hinkan je maung pala ta penan gopo oba me ke hinkan chung rowa ta gopo oba me ke kandan di kapsu 오바 메 hinkan tab jurho se mada be hin ta dab hin to jur dab hin tamche nang ne yang mada sini yor mada takpa ta hin to namda goram hin se mada bane ya takpa cha takpa de hin to takpa sen da ta goram yorwa ta hin to takpa de ngobo oba me hinkan tab ji ta te tab jur ho sen de ne ta mulan ja ko bare.
Then on page 54. Darong nipa na thomendo. Languna nipa thoyso mara.
Nipa nipa re.
Nguna nipa re.
Okay,
it's a little strange because dalam som yore tambo nala som yore teni nipa nala yang je yore.
Chön rekhe bhaja jago sare. Te se choran so te tre roga kalde tes nos kains te jurtan tak.
I just want to point out that the numbering in our commentary in the Tibetan here is different than the numbering we have here in our blue prayer book. Because in this main section now I will begin with verse number 1, which we just did. And in a commentary, verse number 2 is the first verse on page 54, which is not numbered. And then the third one is also not numbered. And then the third one is numbered, number 2, maintain bodhicitta. But that would actually be, 4 already. So maybe I just, I give you both numbers. So now there's no number. So it's, let's say it's 1.1 and the next one is 1.2 on page 54. So that is, may all the worlds of the 10 directions become extensively and completely pure. May it be filled with bodhisattvas and victorious Buddhas who proceed to the royal tree of enlightenment. So, so all the prayers begin with may, which also literally means as I aspire to, so may it be like that. And so the first, let's see,
Tender.
Structure. Okay, all the worlds of the 10 directions. So this term,
Kali. Madab hinkan tamjil ngui zone yagreis. Kali. Oh, kale la ne. Kali hing the madab hing. Madab hing ngui zone yagreis sekura. Temsan concentrate yiman.
Yinan the introduce kyota mandawa yare. Debe the kale sena si madapa thonda ba.
Sik thonda hing.
Madapa ba.
The madabar de Sekoram madab thonda ro mare. Yina ticket kali hing said the that chapsang go go. Pajar agmar chant.
Mare. Is this
Rang neser dodo.
Huh?
Chante rang neser dodo jite.
He says, if I find that word in the dictionary, it's giving me a piece of gold.
Perhaps you have a special dictionary. Daning the kayet. We Kali. You're sorry. Oh. This is a really This is like a question. Yeah. Kali hings the carreris, that day. Kali hings the Kali hings the dead Munzim Ni Chinodra. Munzini Chin at the Carresina, Kaheke, Tabu Hing, Juris, Tinderban and Tabu Hing, Tabu Tondano, Gavin, Sunda. In this on good tomat in your trogram, good tomat me by your trogomariwas. So that they Madabi Hinkan John Tagari, Sondoti.
Yeah, so sorry for the confusion, but because it says the worlds here, just and the Tibetan has another word there in there too. A word which cannot be found in a dictionary, and it has also not been translated here. So all the it's it basically could mean two things. So it could be like all the impure worlds, or it could be what is
Kali
the other one?
Shen Hibande.
Kalajibo.
Li Sibadan Dra, Pachana to Bandadraves, can see Yankle to Jayakchida. Mato Kawaii in a young Smaroj. Kalas.
So there's this one word that should be before the worlds here. So it either is may all the pure worlds, or it is may the worlds wherever they may be, basically, yeah, of the 10 directions. But here we're speaking about in the sense of a pure world, and so for example, the impure worlds of the 6 realms of samsara, the impure realms, may they become purified. So may these impure worlds become purified into pure worlds. So actually there is also impure realms where nirmanakayas appear, like kind of impure pure lands. There are many of these in this universe. For example, a real pure land is a land, a field that possesses many great qualities, and it's where the bodhisattvas are training on the path with a mind of bodhicitta. And when we train in the mind of bodhicitta, for example, no matter how high our realization or our scholarly understanding might be, what it comes down to in terms of making it feel pure is the mind of bodhicitta. And of course, it is something that has to be in the mind, but also it is something that is expressed verbally. And this is how then these bodhisattvas create their pure lands for the future. So they express these qualities of bodhicitta verbally. And then in the future, as a result of these aspirations, they create their own pure land. And so when a pure land is then created, if it is like an impure pure land, kind of a lesser pure land, then it is like smaller or of lesser qualities, and then sometimes there might be some suffering, and there might be taking birth, which is unlike the pure land that comes from a really vast motivation of true bodhicitta. Then, as a result of such a motivation, for example, the Buddha Amitabha had brought forth the pure land of Deva Chen. So there is another prayer which relates to this, purifying the impure worlds. So it happens in stages, basically. First, the impure is transformed into the pure world. And then the pure world is transformed into the completely pure world. And then the completely pure world is transformed into a real pure land, like the Buddha Amitabha's pure land.
Ta kantar Shinkan sojo kita Shinkan mada pada jungse mada pa kandanda oji ina yang te da tamche da jachir yongsu ta se de opa me ki Shinkan ta hajang ki Shinkan takbu Shinkan ji de jowar hyo jorne kare gorsen jancho hyungwang zhongxi da jancho ge ching shibande kan de la mune bu de sanje ko yore sanje dang deni din dun de da sanje de jawna yi cha de din dun de deni kor da de lumbo de suna yin de service de jancho samba tamje deni gangwar hyo sta mulan de ja go yore da ngus mulan de ja Shinkan jang ne de jang go yore de dun ko to ne ngarang so yang je 단 잡을랜드 나나제 사자 망보 요러와 고용 망보 요래 내사 되는 소소 주소 망보는 내도 있다 주소 제대다 참튼 요바 소소 내사 되지 잠바다 닌지 요사 장딘 요사 락섬 요사 빈수 귀야 요사 되다 외질은 내효 심몰란 잡바다 찍바래 드란데 토그레스 다데 소소소소 산 당라지 드라지 고요진은 내를 가한도감 되니 양문지 the novel the doxa del doda che rawang mi desan raw ma Tanando Nelagando, Tente Suchi Gawayo Marwara, Mesala, Tenza, Ramon Yuna, Teta Ramanange, Sunam Sosak, Gevadrusaket, Rajila, Netamna Sanjimajava, Chagayorova, there is.
So all of the may all the worlds of the 10 directions become extensively and completely pure. So even though some of those pure lands or lands in fields in the 10 directions might at any point be slightly imperfect or impure, so we are making an aspiration, may it all become vastly impure, just like the greatest of pure lands, the mostly pure land, the mostly pure land of the Buddha Amitabha. And then here the royal tree of enlightenment, this royal tree here actually refers to Buddha, the Buddha, and then the victorious bodhisattvas and the bodhisattvas and the victorious Buddhas proceed to the royal tree.
That's Jonghe Kiba the Namju to Pen Sanjet so Tik Drone Sangjen or Yangil and Nora. Hikiba the Lamdevan and Devadeva top. Tito. Okay. Sanju Chiwang Chongkik, the drones Sanjerova. The town and Aransta Kandar Kival and Dinanch Dunla, Simjin Tamji, Dunzom Yongjoli on Hos. Pen the judging Garcino Bodina, the name around such a Gavanyam the Druyag, Sunam de Hos, Madov.
Dylan Donkin Dereva.
Then do Chipo.
Dungu Donkin Sore.
Ah.
Dungu Donkin.
The Ronald is Simjin Tamji, the Chacho Sampatan and Rogoro.
In a Sanja Dogma.
Sanje Kanto.
Sanjan
Sanjay Sanjay
I don't know, maybe I'm not sure if I'm reading this correctly in English, but it says, the way I'm reading it is, may it be filled with bodhisattvas and victorious Buddhas who proceed to the royal tree of enlightenment. So I read that to mean that the ones who proceed are the Buddhas. But it's not like that in the Tibetan. So the Buddhas have already, they're already there. They're already enlightened. So they wouldn't proceed to the royal tree of enlightenment. So it is referring to the bodhisattvas and the sentient beings, right? Shiva? Yeah. So it refers to the proceed here. Who proceeds are the all beings, and so in literal it says the bodhisattvas, they proceed to the tree of, to the state of enlightenment. So which is so it would be more like it's filled with bodhisattvas who will proceed to the royal tree of enlightenment that is the Buddhas, that are all the Buddhas. So may all the fields be filled with the Buddhas and then the bodhisattvas who proceed to their state. So we are making this prayer here. We are saying that, may it all the pure lands be filled with Buddhas and bodhisattvas and so on. But we also really have to maybe think about it in kind of how we can imagine this in the real world, in our circumstance, for example. So in this world, there are many different places and environments and different societies. So really this field here also can be interpreted to mean that may they all the people in the world and then in their individual societies and so on, may they be harmonious and may they all cultivate love and compassion, and in all different communities in the world may people be truthful, honest, and may they have good intention toward each other. May they respect one another. So think about it from the perspective also of your own place, your own community or environment, wherever you are. What kind of environment do you want to live at? So do you want to live in a place where you have some freedom and happiness, or do you want to live in a place where you have no freedom at all? So obviously nobody wants to live in an unfree state without any freedom. And one wants to live in a state of freedom, and within that state of freedom, one also wants to experience the freedom of merit and virtuous practice. So if one is able to stay in such a place, it is really inconceivable.
다 제저 레라포 파타와이나 장첩 신원 시바데 산제라 고고요레스 문에베데 산제라는 고요바레 드니 딘던도 다 장첩 선바 탐지 용네 시부동레 용네 가르치고레 상제 그 살라 랍네 냠슬레네 딘 상제 바르 호이부동다 차도요레 드니 찌땅 게다데 ngaso Х약자도 바다베나 드니 장초 신라 되니 몸바르 상제로와 돌지디나 장초 그 신라 단데 값서 헥키바데 상제발라양 고요 바레스 헥키바 타지도 고마 본로야 지보마야 봐 되니 찌땅 행히반데 마랑서 칭 친랭로 문 설상나 땅네 찌때 바이나야 찌땅 엔친을 게미데 이나야 근데 좀신 첨보를 상제 장초 신걸로 띵고한테 정도 요구하더라 행 희반데 코 담보 코 용딘 다진 베르나 사이 주의 처 라소바 참아 저드 자와 저드 용거 요러와 용딘 느바 참아 저드 용바 차니 용딘 제요레 니 코야 미네 데니 미인도 콜야가 데라 로마 데니 리리 연다 행동 제게 심진 트차 mambol로 핀토고 요레 남도 가양 미베토네 조원 총동데 제 차도 요르바 델레 임벤데 히 mambo 요레 벤son지 히나 아리조나라 캡티스 존도와 캡티스 데 로자다 납준 제 버네도 대체 코랑 야지니 존데 심진 짜냐 그 창자네 제 심진 담제 제 핀타데 타마 로자다 파창 압준 상아 노면 마코 게나 마린드 리용바 디나나야 다른 심진 그 창자 네네 딱 대강적 핀토다 문내 장다 나랑 저기 이기나 핀토 세지때 힘동 드나 캡티스 힘동 찍을 삼노 땅와이나 문내 루고는 핀타 세지때는 힘동 등 아른도 삼상로 신도 하는네 다 삼부 dob체 정근 다 장축선 시바도 용디 요 비짐신 데로와 다 단단도 저 삼노 땅고요 바래
So to like put this verse in simple terms, so maybe look at the Tibetan here. So it says here, like literally, it says that may those fields be completely pervaded by the bodhisattvas who have gone before the tree of enlightenment. So that's what it literally says. And so the tree of enlightenment here also refers to, it refers to the Buddha or the state of Buddhahood itself, or we can also see it as the tree of enlightenment where the Buddha had attained enlightenment. So when the bodhisattvas gather around the Buddha, and then gathering around the Buddha, they train, engaging in practice, and attain enlightenment. So this is a prayer for the bodhisattvas, may they attain enlightenment in the presence of the Buddhas. In terms of the tree, the Buddha Shakyamuni, for example, had attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya. So it also can refer to that tree. And that term what is it here? Proceed here. It can actually also refer to being in that state of enlightenment, being like someone who has proceeded to enlightenment, someone who is enlightened. So it either is a verb or a noun. But in any case, in terms of the tree, from a scientific perspective, and of course I'm not a scientist, but there really are some important points, some interesting points in there. And so when we say that the Meda Bodhisattvas go before that Bodhi tree, a tree in general, from a scientific perspective, has a lot of qualities. And the first one is that it kind of gathers, it has this gathering quality of bringing together the nutrients of the earth and water, gathering it all in its root. So it has this gathering quality. So in other words, gathering qualities, gathering power. And then second is that when a tree then grows into a tree itself, then the tree has many branches and leaves. And that tree then becomes shelter and brings great benefit to countless sentient beings. And so there are many explanations on just that part, but we can say that this benefit of the Bodhi tree would be that it eliminates the afflictive emotions in the minds. Or for example, one kind of tree that's incredible, for example, is the cactus in Arizona. The cactus lives about 150 years, and its entire lifetime, from when it grows up until it is a cactus and then stays a cactus, this whole time it benefits so many sentient beings. And then even after 150 years, when it starts to die and get old, it still, as it is in its dying process, it still continues to benefit so many sentient beings. So if we just think about the benefit that one single cactus brings to sentient beings, just in terms of physical benefit, the benefit it brings with its physical form, actually the cactus is probably doing much better than we are doing. And of course, it doesn't have the motivation of bodhicitta.
Agandar yang hindonga hela chanchu san yomari sen ndege yomari de kandar da dere da kwa lindang mangbo yor kwa de kandabla na ya tung tole basa chigla ba go yore yang che ndike ndada we janat ta sanje chomdin de tawe na dorji din la chanchu san la ku jap tin ne tin sangje ne tin simjing dongze ba yin de tin sanje tamje de ta dorji din 그 장족 생태다고 많이 바뀌었더니 가사깔라 상지엔 로킹 요로와 다 대탐지야 줄지 대답 다 간단 나랑 졸라지 들자 탐지라 추중 콜로 거는지 다 뜻도 막 협자도 받다고 그 제바 쫑는더니 장족 생황 대랑라 상지 버려 상지에는 상지 분제바 돈 버려 어디 장족 생다 도지 등 장족 생 남난 저기 요로 된 텔레티는 다 들자 만보 찍더니 핀도 봐다 된다 그 문부터는 상단한 저기도 심심 제단 핑크 용어인데 다들 나랑 전로에는지 다 대다면 제바티나 되니 다 맞을 핀도 첨부 용거 여러와 단 로아 메연달라 되면 신칸도 졸라 상지엔로와 여러와 되니 배나 나랑 주 오바미 향을 지에더니 되니 되니 오바미 향자 상지엔로 그 여러와 다 대다버 좀 많이 봐 나 거는 바절 때 알les문다네
But of course we cannot really say that because it's possible that some trees might have bodhicitta, so we can't say that they don't. So in any case, this part of the tree here can be understood in many different ways, but ultimately, no matter in which way one explains it, it all comes down to a single meaning. And so the Buddha Shakyamuni himself had attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, and then thereafter engaged in the benefit of the human beings, the people in this world. And this therefore is also a prayer, pointing out this tree also is a prayer that may all the Buddhas attain such enlightenment under the Bodhi tree and bring benefit to beings. And the point of saying that is that because Buddhas could also attain enlightenment at a different place, which is not under the Bodhi tree and not in Bodh Gaya, for example, in the Pure Land of Amitabha. And then, however, we will not encounter them and receive their teaching. So that's why there is a prayer that may these Buddhas come into this world. And when they are attaining enlightenment in this world, it is under this Bodhi tree, like a real Buddha who performs all of these enlightened activities of a Buddha. So may all these Buddhas appear in this world, attaining enlightenment here, and then benefiting sentient beings here in this world.
That re hingdong ke pen loma chigla song tama na ngarang so wok chang ngoi bia jing do de wok za ma ji chate en kin ti hingdong re do wok zo bo pa lin ro hingdong re la do de so ji bo na song tama yin na ka din chen bo hyu re do ngarang so la de jang chu ke sem si ba de ge nen de ne tu na ba kun de da je dang san ji ke jin ji la ya ba ke de ne de janchuk chen cha de yo ba re ang arang zu da hingdong zu ba yin na hingdong yin le la su ju ba ke yang san ji ke tu ji sin la de ne korang nya me gen tung ki korang nyam den chone jing king ke sim ji korang ke drama phong ki sun chu ke sim ji mang bo je la de san ji ke sin la yang them do ko yo re sa ta da we na yang janchuk sem hing de so la da bo jam na tene yabo yorwa jitang heng thamje ta kadin chimborwa di nang ni yang janchok shen ta we na dewe ja kadin chewa
So if we just think about one tree, the leaves of a tree, actually, if we just think about that, then we can just by thinking about that, actually, we can see how much the tree really benefits us. So we can feel gratitude for the tree, because the tree, the leaves, foliage of the tree is what gives us the oxygen that we are inhaling, and it takes back the stale air breath upon our exhalation. And that is actually extremely kind. The fact that we can breathe is also due to the foliage on the trees. And so in this sense, it really it is really actually blessed with the Buddha's mind of bodhicitta at all times, continuously, because it constantly gives oxygen to breathe for beings. And so therefore it would be also good maybe to plant a tree, like a bodhi tree, of all the trees, to plant that and to really think about that. Because such a tree is really, especially the bodhi tree now, is really blessed by the great compassion, the bodhicitta of the Buddhas, and therefore anyone who sees it or anyone who receives shelter from it or who is touched by its scent, its fragrance, receives the blessings of the Buddha's bodhicitta. So therefore, it is actually a good idea to maybe hold on to have at least like a little bodhi tree or so.
Terdang terdate namjun hingdong lo tonang te de ngarang so labja ni linju do ti hingdong korang lo ni tonang te na ne tenda yo sare ji kare re ta charwa de so hira ma bab se ke ta hingdong so ko nyama chawa chimbo tenda ke ji yalo do tang ta tenda no ri sangsa yin desert chi la ro te ta we chi la yang teni loma ngo jang yar gun chama la ko teni loma ngo jang de ge do dan de zuba ji dang hingdong jing dar hingdong da ba ma su lab ja len yang do si ta de zuba kana chimbo do si ka yin sina Teni Chahan Baku Yomare, Shallow Dola Soba Tamje, then Cao Hui Yore, that denta with Pala Jien, Tenico, Taronco, Lomango Jang, David. Hupas. Hupa, also Pecha that the course on the Jacuya is sure to go to the course on like the ones. Shuba, so that Shubangak Samana, Shuban Cordera. Then Ganda de Zuba Chimodo, Santa, the Hindong de Sola, Zuba Teta, which you know, not to Zuba Glambla, Flum to get Zuba Mina. Hindong de Sun when no Tayon, some sand of Jivina. There are some Tawailan, Zuba General Pinza, Yuntin Jiggling and those sums. Ya Yuntin Hindong Ganda Maganda in Senaya. Such a delicate chotin chum Ganda New Yonaya. Could Hindong the church mean Hindong the you, dear Pateri Jumarism Sando, that's Hirahimar down Tensabo. Me do that church Junze, you bought their cook to lean. Zawan Zawak to lean to do. That dilettante, oh, Tangane Sajap in the Daxone. Kepa Yuntin Gundin di Yinji Yuntin Chungalins. That didn't the Rantobono. Gansna. Kepa Mune Yuntin Yoja to the Yink Yuntin Chunchon, na Ehita Jungles. Ah, Henk that. Henk Yuntin Chunchon that Henk Yuntin Chunchon Lamarda. Henke Chun Jena Coats or Dura. Chotes means he no Jake Maravasa. Oh, that Chun Chomambo no cock lean the lane. Chun on a pen desert, the Saja Yosal Chun must Yojamar, cooks or done lane to Euro. Sons are called Sonechigura. That end, that Yuntin so the Hindong the Lambana, he goes, sorry, some sano. My Hindong Langbai. Celine.
Actually, I'm just thinking about trees. There's actually much more to be understood if you really pay some attention to trees. There's at least two things that we can pay attention to. Trees. And so one is that, so for example, here where we live in a desert, there is, for example, there's juniper trees, and it's very dry here, so it doesn't rain a lot, and it's also very hot. So from the top, there is not much water falling, and on the bottom, it's mostly rock, and it's hot. And still, the juniper trees are growing here, whether it's in summer or in winter. It seems that the juniper trees are always kind of green. They just stay the way they are. And that actually is also kind of reminds one of the practice of patience. Because even though it doesn't receive any water from above and it's hot and dry and rocky below, it still remains. And that is this kind of steadfastness is similar to perseverance, or perseverance really is forbearance or patience. And when we remember that, then when we see a juniper tree, then we can think that even that tree has patience. Like I would be quite embarrassed even in front of that tree if I couldn't even have as much patience as a tree. So it encourages us to cultivate perseverance or kind of a forbearing and patience. So that's one quality. And the second one is so that any place, wherever that tree is, a quality that any tree really has is that it can store and gather water. So even if it's quite dry on the ground, if there is a little bit of water, of course if there's no water at all, it will be hard for a tree to grow. But if there is just a little bit of water on the ground, the tree is able to kind of get that water. Even if it's not right there, but it's able to kind of pull it towards it through its network, and then it goes into its roots. And that's actually also a quite incredible quality. Sakya Pandita had said, a wise one, a scholar, a wise person, a sensible person with great possessing all good qualities is someone who knows how to take up, to summon, to draw in every small qualities of others. And this is really what a tree is doing. Even if there's just a little bit of water, it's able to draw it in. And similarly, a sensible person is draw in from anywhere, even the slightest quality. And so this is how great qualities are developed. So that's like another quality of a tree that kind of has the ability to take in water like that.
Oh, da dio de zab saje de je sumo tin da sumba de sumba simjin tamji de lak samba shi ba de de chobju simjin gang na jini pa de da de nemi de war jors ro kun je chu je do nam ne temper je re wang de par shos nan de Andi molan de kanda ngarang chula guya gmolan ji rindo sena ta yini techom me ba ke ri se goya cha de yore gari sena ta simjin de ta ji sore ba so so ge zhuo dang bunchin ra ji bo ma yin ba ra cho jio le ta ge ma cha ba sa me du din na ne ba simjin sun ra ji yin na ya 진이 있다 같이 요체 탐제 싶동으로 대다 따드 네미 데버저 다 따드 낭그쯤 나와는 뉴모 독섬 내 참아 드네 용다 담보 말에 버터몰 티네 레소온드 코랑 길라 레가 레닌로 된 도차 hindan 데목섬레 Ti nang ke marek pa le timok le ti ne ta peking ke na cha. Nda chama tele chung ge yore. Tene long ken na cha nda chama ta ndi kare se kare. Do cha le ti ne yong ge yore. Tene chipa ke na cha nda chama hidang le ti ne yong. Korang se nang la yang ta tena wen pinsun rewa yo de pa. Ta ten dan jambling de kalane na cha se du tene che ge jing ge ne na cha nang ge su su ge le sa ya ba la ten ne de ne de na cha ta na cha zhang zhang na zhang che me ba ji yu ge wa na cha zhang ga zhang ji ni sa ta de tham ji tene de da ne ba tham ji dang ne ba ma go ne khurang yang me parsho senta so anda ku yobare
Then we come to which is verse number 3 here in the commentary in Tibetan. And so number 3, the title of that verse would be the third one is the pure intention for wishing for the happiness of all sentient beings. And the verse is on page 54, the second one from the top, but it's not numbered. But here it's numbered number 3. And so that is, may all living beings in the 10 directions always be happy and free of sickness. May they be endowed with favorable circumstances for achieving dharmic goals, and may their wishes be accomplished. So, again, when we read this prayer, we should think, is this something that, this kind of aspiration, something that we need? Actually, there is no doubt that this is something that we all need, not being happy and free from sickness. And so therefore we because that is what we all need, we make prayers that beings will have that, and not just a biased aspiration, wishing that for our family members and friends, but all the sentient beings in the 10 directions. So any sentient being, all beings pervading the 10 directions, may they always be happy and free of sickness. So sickness in the inner level comes from the afflictive emotions, the 3 poisons. First, the mind is ignorant, and with this deluded mind of ignorance, we accumulate karma. And so then karma is then created, driven by attachment, anger, or ignorance. And in terms of illness, it is said that any kind of illness that is related to phlegm comes from karma driven by ignorance. And then any kind of illness that is related to the winds is caused by karma driven by attachment. And then any illness related to bile or the gall is caused by actions driven by anger or hatred. And then, of course, within, among each other, there's many different combinations, and they're all connected. But the various diseases and illnesses in the world arise due to various outer conditions, and also due to one's inner karma, one's inner karmic force that creates the limitless, incalculable number of diseases that exist. So this is a prayer, may all sentient beings be free of disease.
Tati ne mi ne ta ne pa mi pa ta ne mi pa la so ba ta te ta ji po ma yin ba tene karek de go yo re sena rowa kun ji chu ji don nam ne temperature ji rewang de bra sho so tan rowa tham ji ge chu le long chu cho chu bra sho song ge yo re te chu de kare re ge wa jo luji go ne mege som nga go ne mege yi ji go ne mege som de dombe mege jo de char do yong ba na ya ta sem sung wan de ta rombo che ter na yin ke de ne ta che bi ju ya bo ji je ba na sem si ban de san ji san rong kin da cha de yo ba ro wa de ne ta de da ba yong wa la de ne sem de san ji ge san ro go yo ba na tene semna ne da naksem nusem tene lokta shin da zabak ko nyumong da som te yore tan de thamje da ta tar te tawala da gewa cholo long su go yo barwa tene gewa cholo long su che ne tene ta jer ke che ro simchin thamje thana tunro thamje na jege jegla dang sem dang tana mayong war ho se tenen ro ma thamje yang pinsun jege jegla samba da jewa tunbo yong ho se tenen da ngarang zo ge je dambe chu dungkin je juro na ba yang pinsun damsik o chu jig den ba se na be ya ge yore de da ba je damsik za ma yong jig jegla 차도 당 린셈라서 봐 미포 토네 되네 삼바 제문가네 대답 되네 담배추다 롱스제테 되네 소소라랑 게다 제 내가 look to the 샘제 삼바제 장소게 레와 되네 다 타토 산지 조고 뭐 토반도 봐 대학 탐지게다 레와 탐지에다 용선도 벌효 선네 다 몰란데다 랍치 뭐지 소용 거요래
Die Tümper-Gyur-Jing sind die
통tum바
Kara-Tümper.
통tum바
Tön, Chügetön.
톡
Tuk-Tümper.
둔더 담록도 씁니다
Kanske att det är alla de så Chügetön, Rubiala,
Oh. All right. Jo this tate norda mala na ya jiro. Tate mama boglo ko yoro. Norda lab den kensai. 저 나치 단진데 딱. 근데 아스다데 저카 저랑라 카요 말아.
이네 컨서 뱀파 카를 하고
음. 아.
이냥 운은에 하고.
데르나데 주지 도남 지바보 핀순 차도 단디 셈진 가와도 툭바미 바 툭트바르 저징 송도. 나
디 말람나 칸서 되는 디 던다 매바다 잡아 매바잖아.
아, 데 랍쇼. 탐케 보지.
너 라게미.
탐케 보지 랍쇼.
아레레.
니가 고절래. 저런 저야 딤바레. 데 가르침 버리 인을 가르침 버리. 나 딴 진짜 서번. 너데 서로. 다른 야. 말때 니가 랍쇼. 송. 아레. 성노 때 온거 말이야.
So may they be free from sickness. So may there be no sick beings, and may there be no more sickness, and may they be free of all unhappiness. So always be happy, and then may beings. So there's maybe 2 versions of this. So may they be endowed with, so it here says, may they be endowed with favorable circumstances for achieving Dharma goals. So here it says, in this text, I just want to look at this one. It says, may they enjoy the Dharma, or kind of partake of, engage in the Dharma, which means may they give up the 10 non-virtuous actions, which is there's 3 of the body, 4 of the speech, and 3 of the mind. And most importantly, it all comes from the mind. So enjoying the Dharma means, so it says, may all sentient beings enjoy the Dharma. So that means that may they make good use of the Dharma, like making use of a precious treasure. And making good use of the Dharma, their mind will proceed to the state of Buddhahood. In order to proceed to the state of Buddhahood, mainly we must abandon the 3 non-virtuous states of the mind, which is harmful thinking and like desire or covetousness and wrong views. So may beings be separated from that, and may they enjoy or engage in the 10 virtuous actions. And so then in the next line it says, so that is the favorable conditions. So it's may beings practice the Dharma, and the favorable conditions can also be translated as may they be harmonious with one another. So may sentient beings not be jealous at each other. May they not be competitive. May they get along. May they treat each other with kindness and love. And so in this way, enjoying the Dharma and treating each other with kindness and love, as a result of that, then may their wishes be accomplished. So there's 2 things, which is enjoying the Dharma, second is getting along, and as a result, may their wishes will be accomplished, which is temporarily, they will experience physical health, and their various wishes and hopes will be accomplished. And ultimately, may they attain the state of enlightenment.
다른데 지난치 송소서 대인은 단데 템퍼런 저르시 반데 찹치 정지 덱 제반나오지 찹치 정시나 책 누바치 정지 나랑서 남주 주드분 튼진 참마 창효 세요나 ta chu draba ke tunji je lagang je yo te tena na je tene so so tu su je yo tu su ta ya ta je jing dong ya ke tu su je yo de ba de zang lan tunji chu draba tunji ra je chang la sam na dang na ang je chang de wan ro ba de tun hi ban de ta gang ni hi ban na yin ne mi jin de wa yong go yo na zambalen de kala man tho mi go yo re zambalen de kala man tho me tenen 다 저소리나 제는 잡는 힙데 서wan다와 내나 같이 벤촌도 찍차고요. tenen 소소 알아서 개비 주 둥킨 탐체 섬다나 담색장 기바데 통통바데 고용 거요라. 다 산제 그 살런로 고요나 tenen 양 통통바데 담색을 토운도 담다 담색 상제 바데 담색을 토요래 담색도 통통바라 차데 토도 남jer 로모직 송다 양세 송어요라 저런 소왕 그 담색 값서 저런 것저 담색 송 기바데 로마제근 콩라 담색 여보 송데 와데 마레스 라마제를 담색 여보 송 라마제 담색 여보 송아 지볼로 거저 말에 근데 나바 핀춘 통통 버치 거지 담색이 송 양스 송거요라 다 때인데 통통 세바데 책 누바데 빼 심보지 유도 디갈라 저널 야게서레사
So because this is translated a little differently in the blue book, just to clarify this, favorable circumstances. So here it is translated as may they be endowed with favorable circumstances. And so we have said that may they be in harmony with one another. So if now one would speak about maybe that one could make a case for favorable circumstances in a maybe more indirect way. So this term of favorable or conducive is actually a very pervasive word that can have a lot of connotations, and it is a very powerful word. And so from this perspective of as it is in the blue book with favorable circumstances for achieving Dharma goals. So here, for example, what is a favorable circumstance for Dharma practice? It could mean, for example, that you are, that a temple, for example, is accessible to you. So there is a temple or some kind of a shrine, a place where you can practice, and then also you have the time to do the practice, to do the recitation. So this place and this time, for example, we can say is a favorable condition, favorable conditions for Dharma practice. So if one has it, then one has all the favorable conditions for Dharma practice. And then favorable also means that, as you mentioned before, however, if we want to be free from illness and achieve a bliss and happiness, then another way of translating this term now is harmony, and that is, in order for one to be happy and free of illness, there needs to be harmony in the world. There needs to be no wars and no fighting. There needs to be world peace. So if there's world peace, and then everyone will be happy and peaceful. And then, of course, it relates to the favorable circumstances, because when everyone is peaceful and happy, then one also can practice the Dharma. And then for the Dharma practitioners themselves, this term is better translated as harmony than just having favorable circumstances, because this harmony is really our samaya. And for us to attain enlightenment, we need to have pure samaya. And samaya is this harmony among each other. So that's essential for attaining enlightenment. And Gachin Rinpoche always mentions it over and over again. Whenever we receive an empowerment, he says that you have to keep the samaya. But the way you should understand samaya is that the samaya does not just apply to for example, the disciple has to keep the samaya with the teacher, with the Vajra master. It's not just that, but it means that we have to keep the samaya with all the sangha members, among all of us. There needs to be harmony among all of us, and if there is harmony, we are keeping our samaya. So this term harmony here, or being in agreement, harmony, that is a very powerful term. So it's better to translate it that way.
다 대답 몰란 자나 핀토 제 요르베 세르드 핀토 자차 자네 요레스 요바데 몰란데 그무 생칸 그디 삼노 든저와 동용 거 요르바 무 생칸 삼노 든저와 땅은데 다 간단 구르름 보지 그 손에 둘란 저와인데 겐드로야 요만 인가 저 니망 아도 센데야데 드나 문저르세 드자 저완도 말에 문은 저와인스 뭐 담진 저런거 요레스 문저 땅데 무 잡주라서 번저완도로와 무 잡주데 가와 톡들으시나 자와도 주바데 군홍로 톡도요라 군홍 셈나 데인데 다티 몽랑도 좀 돈데 삼노 뭐 인다 그 삼노 로카 저마타나 수소라니 저완도요라 나랑 좀 버트로마 족장 직 잘라햄나 나랑 좀 드틴 손자나 이 차도 요르다 나랑 저게 깨직직름 버트로마 사야만 보세 터고 요래 이는 양나랑 줄라 잠바던 힌제 요데 많은 돈 퍼비 데라 테니 따테 그 버트로마 사야만 보양 타플람라 타플 그 파차 요르고 요래 산제나 이 차도 요르다 나랑 저 디갑스 다 글홍이 바는 버tok 산지 가서 양면 쳐 하양다고 들아 자마가 루라 저 두튼 소자자 양는 저 깜바침 그마진네 들아 제이가는 두튼 소자나 이 차송 된 소소라니 지선도 진 잠블랜드 세바치 시데 타지 더 머젠장 세바치 발고 말와 된 드나 인자 다 몰란데게 인라 핑거리 라운라 핑거 요래 타토다 랑라 핀냐데 상제 크살타니르 땅로고 요르바 다 데이터게 몰란시 바드라리 테니 다 따라는 거라서 고노히바게 제 왕 휴제데 베 야포리 신 나랑 그때 딩거 요 나랑이나다 왕 빼만보 휴차르다 왕 다 볼라 데라린 데라 데라리 가와서는 왕 휴제스 뭐창 창가자 다 뭐만보지 왕 휴살 랍데 대배 왕 코랑 그 신랍단 눈도단도 노동 인사를 빼 야보를 남 지수랑 지고 요래 왕 휴버 저도 담색 송 거지 때양 룰루 차선은 되게 말아 그래서나 왕데 그 누바 피용 빼만보 송요래 피용 만보 송요바데 피용 스디 소소라 핀 바데 가장 강한 휴연 바 용시 바데 제 말아 피용시 바 핀시 바 이긴라 파 핀데 바 용시 데 데니처 소소란 레버 탑용 바 요바데 타베제 르바 다데 용고가 있나 데니 담색들라라레도 요래 데데 담색들 송 거제 남주 도능 지다 담색 차이긴 잡았는데 든든든데 제 찍히에서 와이나 빼 망보히야 너
Then, if you're wondering if you make such a prayer, will it actually be of any use, any benefit? There certainly will be a benefit. It's like 100% certainty. And that's because when you're reciting prayers, it's your mind that will change, it will transform. Guru Rinpoche had said that, we are speaking about the 5 dregs of time that degenerate age. So Guru Rinpoche actually said that it's actually not the time that's changing, but it's the people that change. It's the things that people do, the actions of people change. And any activity depends on the state of mind. So it's really the mind that's changing. So when we, for example, just think about our ourselves. For example, when we see an ant colony. To this ant colony, when we are walking around, for example, we become like a nuclear bomb to them, like an atomic bomb. In just 1 second, we can kill millions of ants, just like that. Or we can cultivate love and compassion for them and recite some mani mantra and then blow on them. And in that way, we have actually put that imprint of liberation into the minds of millions of ants. And in that moment, the moment of doing that, we really have become like a Buddha, an emanation of a Buddha. So on the other hand, what we often do is that when we don't think about it, we become very destructive to the ants. For example, you have your hot water boiler. What is it? The kettle, and maybe you're boiling a lot of ants in there without even knowing. So that they're just killed. So it's just like you become like a bomb, a nuclear bomb to them. Just like that, they just are cooked. Or you just walk on them and you kill millions of them, hundreds of them. So actually, when we speak about non-violence in the world, it does not just refer to human beings, but any being really. And so therefore, this is the purpose of making such prayers. It is of benefit for others and oneself, and especially ultimately for oneself, because as a result of making these prayers, you are getting closer to attaining the state of enlightenment. And so regarding the receiving of empowerments, so personally, I think this is excellent, and I myself have received so many different empowerments, and it's everywhere the same, whether it's in Tibet or here. You always have a lot of people crowding to an empowerment. Everyone wants to receive an empowerment. And that is because an empowerment possesses great blessings and a lot of power, also to benefit beings. So it's good to receive the empowerments, and I rejoice in that. However, having received the empowerment, we also have to keep the samaya. It's not okay to just kind of like rush for the blessing, but then be a little loose when it comes to keeping the samaya. So in general, it is explained that receiving empowerments has a lot of great powers and benefits that come from it. And as you might remember, in the last week, we spoke about this term benefit in general. In Tibetan, it is pain. So pain, we have said, means something that we give to others, the help we give to others. So what we send out. And then yun, the second syllable, is what we get as a result. And so getting the result depends on us, our keeping the samaya. And that is why it is good to always pay attention to really seeing the importance of keeping our samayas pure. And of course, aside from that, there is many more details that could be explained about samaya.
다 대인데 탐색을 자와 장초그 셈을 톨도 요래. 장초그 셈그 민빈 때 인독산라고데 파믹제 때 미바 때산라고데 가레리 세드 데는 로아 탐지게 데돌라라데 요래. 심진 탐지 대와단 대ව저 잠제다 뎀바 저지 송원데 장초그 셈그 파 무바 때지 인고 요러와. 데니 장초그 셈그 파 무바 때지발라 장초그 셈그 문도 ndrogo yore de yang ninji de ninji de ke kare risna simjin tamje dunga ge jyo ta danjin ler thogdo yuza tele tawar kho sam this sam no teni la ra le du baris dan den namba sanje pa ge ji ta to sanje ni tene dara tas ngarang simjin par ki chu dro de tumong la chap ta dro ra de tere dem so ta wa tong ni se man ra wa dang cha ja chim bo zo pa chim bo se man bo sung ya yo ro da de yang kap yin na ke ni cha zo ko kar chim bo cha an ko yo re de ta wa ji cha de yo de ngo ma ngarang su cha ma la cha de wa de jang ba dang zi bu ke ta de cha an ko yo re si nāmbā sāngyē bū chū sēwā jī sū sū sēm nāng lā yu dā mī dēyāng sān sām rā wā dā dēkīn jī gō yō rē dā rā jī nā dā nām yū ngā tsō jī zāmbā lēng dī kā lā pā jī sām dāng nī pā dē yā bā yī nā nē dā nī kā ngā dāng dā jīn pār jī dā rā gō tsā mā jī bā yō dē bā rē dā dē lā mē nē ngomwe na ngarang su ju ge ches jamba da nin je da nyama na nyama ya chi yar je shu ro go an ro ji yore te de ni ngarang su ju ge jamba da nin je de yar jen ro ya ge chap de ni zambal nain de la ka nga zong khin ro ji cha song ai na de ni da san je ge chu lu xiong ne yang de zang ge de ni reven ro de chong ka la khabo yin sang ngarang zu tsama ke ta chirang zu jibo le argument kan ta nga zu tsama ke je zap zap che ne ta lak par de ti molam de zon dong yong ba kap so de ne zap zap che je te kar chen bo re kan se na ti kap su molam de ne ba yo re pin yo re sin la yo re te ngarang zu sem te khalo jer te ko yo re lek bu lam la chur ti jim sin se ne shi ba yin.
And the root of samayam is bodhicitta. And when we cultivate bodhicitta, our focal object, what we direct it toward, is sentient beings. So therefore we say, may all sentient beings have happiness, and the cause of happiness, which is love. So that's our aspiration. We direct our bodhicitta toward that. And then from that love arises compassion. So we say, may all beings be free from suffering, and the cause of suffering, that is self-grasping. And so when we practice Buddhism, this is like the common aspiration that we have as Buddhist practitioners, to wish for the happiness of sentient beings. And so that's the common Buddhist view. And of course, when we speak about the authentic view, there are many teachings about emptiness and Mahamudra and Dzogchen and so on. And in a certain context, that of course is very important. But actually, what really makes one's practice be Buddhist practice, what's really important is that view of love and compassion. Actually, having or not having that, this is what determines whether or not you have the Buddha Dharma within your mind. So only if you develop love, do you really have the Buddha Dharma in your mind, regardless of what else you practice. So when we look into this world, for example, we see everyone experiences difficulties, difficult circumstances, obstacles, and so on. So that is what we need to direct our mind toward, and in this way improve day by day our love and our compassion. If we neglect that, and if instead, while being a Buddhist practitioner, if we actually bring difficulties, if we make things difficult for others, instead of better, then even though we might have entered Buddha Dharma and we might be so-called practitioners, if we do not cultivate love, then it doesn't matter what we do, it will be difficult for us to gain a result. And so this is important for all of us, it's not just you, but all of us, to be very careful in. And especially when you're reciting a prayer such as this, it's important to be very careful, because such a prayer contains many blessings and has great power and can bring immense benefit. because it can really transform your mind completely. And therefore it brings you, this prayer is really what guides you, what directs you onto the excellent path. And so that's why I mentioned that.
Yeah, that they might chúc ching nang ter ching don ra ngot. Chu dong nang ngot ching don. Chu do a ngot chi bo.
Then we do dedication prayers in the yellow prayer book, first on the first verse on page 11, and then the first verse on page 16. So page 11 in the yellow prayer book. By this merit may I attain omniscience, having defeated the enemies my wrongdoings. May I liberate all beings who are tossed in the ocean of samsara by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. On page 16. Just as the hero Manjushri realized things as they are, and as did Samantabhadra too, I will follow in their path and perfectly dedicate all these virtues. And then in the blue prayer book, 21. May every being ailing with disease be freed at once from every malady. May all the sickness that afflicts the living be instantly and permanently healed.
Thank you very much, everybody.